As we come down, Brendan, could you talk a little bit about, and then we'll pass to Chris to talk a little bit about being a non-technical founder or co-founder in a company, and then investing in companies that may have non-technical founders or co-founders.
He's the investor, so that's...
Well, that's the second piece.
Okay. I think being able to talk to technical talent as people is very important. I ran the E-Club when I was at the GSB, and I did a thing with Across the Street Basis, which is kind of a counterpart. This guy, Ricky Yeen, was running it. He's running a company called Crowd Booster right now. Great guy. And MBAs have this reputation for being mercenary. So I did this application process to come to this meetup event. I was at the Dutch Goose. And it's the largest club at the GSB. We had like 200 applications and narrowed it down to 35. Ricky had a call in favors. He got 6 people to show up, like begged them to come. And this interesting thing happened where all the non-technical people thought they had the greatest idea in the world, didn't really care what the other person had to say. And after about 5-10 minutes, I'm starting to hear some dumb iPhone app ideas that the MBAs want the engineers to build. I think the reason I've been successful with attracting technical talent or just building a team of people who are very passionate about what we're doing, as strange as the idea might sound, is that the personal connection is everything. And any leader at any size of an organization is not managing a robot. They're managing people and emotions, and you have to understand where that's coming from. So I think as a non-technical founder, a lot of what I focus on is putting a strategy in place, sanity checking that from people of different walks of life, different levels of expertise. That's brought in a lot of advisors, both technical, non-technical, and talent, technical, non-technical. But the thing that I found that's worked, and I know it sounds really stupid and simple, is just connect with the people and understand why they're motivated to do what they do. So everyone in this room, I think everyone's going to Stanford, we're at Stanford. This is an incredible place. You chose to study whatever you're studying, whether that's technical or non-technical. You don't need to be bashful about that, like a lot of MBAs are. I think what you need to be is authentic to who you are and genuine and curious about who the other person is, and everything else kind of works out.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time looking at, so one of the things that we do as part of our system, so I run simultaneously a startup and a fund. So we actually have clients outside of the fund, which makes us very different than others. So we actually have to do sales and BD to other strategics, both Fortune 500 companies and big family offices, hedge funds, and that type of thing, to subsidize what we do, because our fund is too small to support the engineering infrastructure that we have. We have an 11-person team full-time, in addition to a bunch of other people in our network. And I think, so I have to think about a lot about how to team build in addition to what we want to invest in. And it depends a lot on the category. I don't think there's any blanket rules. Everyone says it's all about team, team, team. And the reality is the data would show that sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not, at least in a sort of very quantifiable way. So if you're building data infrastructure, analytics, hardcore tech, it is, great teams attract great people, and it tends to bias to very technical founders and co-founders and whatnot. For companies that are more focused on consumer innovation, people can come from literally almost any walk of life, and it's really about them having an innate understanding of what the customer wants even before the customer understands it, and then being able to attract people who can actually build it. And then once you start to build it, often traction begets team on novel consumer behaviors. So it depends on what end of the spectrum you're on. So, I also did not come from an engineering background. At this point, I've run every non-engineering role at a company at both small scale and relatively larger scale. But I think you can learn all these things, and to be a co-founder who's non-technical, you just have to be a very strong general athlete. So biz dev, recruiting, sales, we spent a ton of time on product and really understanding where sort of a market need intersects with what technology is capable of doing, and then recruiting and getting people to believe in the vision that can actually have a unique advantage in building specifically the product that you want. Because ultimately that will lead to differentiation over time. Over time, it's almost always team. But in the very, very early days, it depends a lot on what that team composition needs to look like, and there's not a really high, there's not a specific formula or recipe that works. It really depends on a unique insight into the market or into that customer and what their pain points are that makes you uniquely qualified, and then getting a team together over time and a culture that can uniquely deliver on that vision.